Welcome to the Aligned and Confident Dating Podcast with me, your host, Collette Gallagher. And today our topic is healthy versus unhealthy relationships. I think we are all ready to get started here today on today's episode of the Aligned and Confident Dating Podcast with me, your host, Collette Gallagher. So the fun thing about being in an unhealthy relationship is that a lot of times we don't even realize that they're unhealthy. So the way this happens is you start seeing someone, things seem to be going really well, you like the person, and then maybe something happens. It's just a little thing, so you overlook it, and time goes by, 6 months, 3 months, a year goes by, and all of those little things start adding up to a really unhealthy situation. And so that's what I want to talk about today, because it's so important to not only understand what a healthy relationship looks like, because so many people don't even have really good role models for a healthy relationship. And so they think that the drama and the fighting and the name calling and the jealousy and the yelling and all of those things are normal parts of relationships. And they're actually not. And so we can actually reprogram all of our relationship expectations and things like that into a more healthy situation. And so as a healthy relationship champion, I'm here to tell you that you can have a healthy relationship, maybe not with the person you're with, but maybe with the person you're with if things aren't very healthy right now. Because it is possible to change things if both people really love each other and want to change things. So let's dive right into this topic. We're going to have some fun in this episode talking about those not so bright and shiny moments in a relationship, maybe the things that we don't really want to tell our friends we're doing, or we definitely maybe don't want other people to know that it's happening, but some of these things are really common. So one thing that happens in a relationship is, and I did this, so this is something that I used to do when I was younger, was I would date people that I really either wasn't that attracted to or that I couldn't really see myself with long term because it seemed safer. So my mom was married a bunch of times. I promised myself I wouldn't be like that. So I wanted to be more about the way the person treated me than how they looked for a long time. And I'm not saying I dated like super ugly people or anything like that, but they definitely weren't people I was actually like really attracted to, because I would be friends with them for a while and then I would think, okay, this guy is super nice and I get along with them really well and we have a great friendship, so why not make that a relationship? So for most of my teenage years, that is pretty much how I dated, was guys I was friends with that maybe I wasn't super attracted to, but they were super nice. But what ended up happening was I ended up breaking up with them eventually because I wasn't super attracted to them. And then I would just hurt them. And so not on purpose, like that's not something like I set out to do, but that's just what happens when you try to have a relationship with someone that you just, you're not really that attracted to or you're not meant to be with, no matter how much you want to, It's not really our fault if we're not really attracted to someone. Those are hormones and lots of things go into why we're attracted to someone and why we're not. And as a side note, if you do find yourself being attracted to people that don't treat you well, that is just like a limiting belief and that can be changed. So, side note. So another thing I would do is I would date fixer-uppers or men that I thought I could help, I thought I could save. I thought that if I loved them enough, they would change and be happy. And so I grew up in a house where I was made responsible for other people's feelings. And so I was blamed for people being upset and mad and unhappy, which is super unhealthy. So unless you're like purposely being like a total jerk and you're purposely like setting out to hurt people, if people are blaming you for their emotions, it just means that they're not willing to take responsibility for their life. And hopefully this isn't you, but just something to think about as well. Do you blame other people for how you're feeling? So you can't, like, no one can make you feel a certain way. You always have a choice with how you're feeling. And so, of course, it's okay, like, if you're sad about something or you're angry about something that somebody did, but all that really means is they broke a value that you have or an expectation that you had. But that's not really on them. Now, if they're hitting you or something like that, then yeah, that's not okay. Like, walk away. If they're calling you names, things like that, and you feel bad, that's not okay. But I'm talking about like normal everyday things. They're going out with their friends, things like that, and then you feel hurt about it. So that's what I'm talking about, where you're feeling bad, angry, sad about something that they're just doing on normal day-to-day, like living their life, doing what they want to do to make themselves happy. So that goes both ways. So if you're just living your life, going out with your friends, doing the things, you know, going to things and doing things you like to do, and your partner is mad about it, then that's not your fault. You're allowed to have a life that you love in any relationship. So getting off on tangents here. So anyway, so going back to dating these fixer-uppers. So because I thought it was my fault or like my responsibility to make people happy and to do what I could do to earn love, then I would date these men that were in love with their ex and heartbroken. And so I would try to like love them so that they could get over that person and be in love with me. Or I would date people that were alcoholics, or they were just addicted to other things, you know, things like that. So I would date these men that were fixer-uppers. And that does not make for a happy, healthy relationship, let me tell you. If you haven't done this, I do not recommend it. It is not a very fun way to try to have a relationship with somebody where you're the one who's putting in effort to make someone happy, especially if it's to the point where you're putting someone else's happiness first. And that's one thing that I think is just a total myth, where we're taught to, you know, put 110% into a relationship and like make our partner happy. Like, no, that is a recipe for a very unhappy relationship, because you can't make someone happy. It's impossible. And I learned this the hard way. And trust me, I tried everything to make somebody happy. And if they're depressed, that's like on them. You know, they have to decide to do whatever they need to do to get over it. So dating fixer-uppers is definitely not, because they don't have anything to give. If they're depressed, if they're, you know, addicted to something, they're not going to have anything to give to a relationship. So they're not going to be a good partner. It's not going to be healthy. Another thing I would do is date men that just were not that into me. So I had this really bad habit for a while, and it was to get huge crushes on men that just didn't really pay that much attention to me. So again, I was trying to like earn that love. I was trying to earn their affection. I was trying to be somebody that they would like. And so when I used to date, I used to just kind of get to know someone so that I could kind of see like, oh, okay, what kind of person would they like? Because I have a variety of interests. I like to do a lot of things, so I can do those things that that person likes to do. And so again, I used to compromise and, you know, go to movies I didn't want to see and go to events I didn't want to go to just to be with that person. And that's unhealthy. You know, if you're doing it once in a while, it's fine. But if it's like all the time where you're constantly having to do things you don't want to do that aren't fun for you just because your partner wants to do it, it might not be the best match. So take a look at that and just ask yourself, do you want to spend your time doing stuff that other people want to do, or do you want to do what you would like to do that would make you happy, and find a partner that likes to do those things already, and then you do them together? So this is something that one of my exes did. He totally was a different person when I met him, and he would do all this outdoor activities and all of this stuff because he was trying to like woo me. But then after a while, he went back to who he naturally was, which was definitely not a good match for me. he wanted to stay home and watch History Channel, and I definitely did not. And so just ask yourself, do I want to do these things long term? Because in the very beginning of relationships, we're excited and we're willing to compromise because we like the person. But in a long term, like if you're going to be with this person for 10 years, is this really how you want to live your life? So I think that's how unhealthy relationships get perpetuated, is because we think like, oh, this is just a one-time thing, or it's not that big of a deal right now. But, after 10 years, it becomes a big deal, right? And I think that's also why there's so many divorces, because people are like overlooking a bunch of stuff in the beginning that they're not really thinking of, like, wow, could I really do this for the rest of my life? Do I really want to go to these sporting events for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, you might want to rethink the relationship. So another unhealthy thing is when you're not able to express what you need and desire in a relationship. And so I used to totally hide my feelings. For a long time, I didn't even want to feel any feelings whatsoever. So I kind of numbed my feelings and just pretended I was happy all the time, which is great, except for it's still inside of you. And so if you don't let yourself feel things, then you can't fully feel the good things either. You're kind of just numb. You think you're happy, but you're actually numb. And so the more you can feel the sadness and the anger and the frustration and express them in a healthy way, the more you're going to be able to feel the love and the happiness and the joy and the gratitude, like really feel them. And so for a long time, I wouldn't let myself feel anything, and I pretended I was happy and everything's great and everything's fine. And then I learned to slowly be able to tell people how I was actually feeling about things. And it took a long time before I was able to tell my partners, because I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to be abandoned. I'd had like abandonment and rejection issues. And so it's not healthy if you're clamming up. So this is like one of those stereotypical things that people do when they're mad. The fight or flight, they go and they withdraw and they don't talk about how they're feeling. And they just like ignore their partner for a while until they're over it. And then they come back and then they're loving. And it's okay to like take space, but it's important to, after you take that space to calm down, to be able to express, well, I was really feeling this way about what happened. And you're allowed to feel that way. And it's not like you're blaming your partner. And so I've noticed that sometimes when you tell someone how you're feeling, they get defensive. And so sometimes you might have to preface it with, I'm not blaming you. This is just how I feel. And just, reminding them that you're not trying to blame them for your feelings, but letting them know, like, hey, this upset me, and I just wanted to let you know. In a healthy relationship, when you tell someone, there's no blame. There's no like, oh, this is your fault, I'm feeling this way. It's taking responsibility for how you're feeling, and then knowing that you're just sharing it for yourself so that they know. But it's not in a blaming way. It's not in a shaming way. It's not in a like, you better change way. It's just like, hey, I'm feeling this way because of this. And it's really just for you. It's like a confession, right? Humans like to confess, or they need to confess, actually. People like to be able to share their feelings and their thoughts in a safe environment. So if you can't do that, that's not healthy. Another thing that is a sign of an unhealthy relationship is that you don't feel comfortable around the person. So this can be in the beginning because you're nervous and you think they're just so cute and you're trying to like just give a good impression, so you're not really comfortable with the person. Or this could be after a while because they start blaming you for everything, and so you all of a sudden feel like you're walking on eggshells around them, or you can't say certain things or they're going to explode. So that is not healthy. Communication is so important in a relationship. So if you feel like you can't be yourself, you can't communicate, you can't be comfortable, you have to pretend everything's okay, you're feeling nervous, it's almost like you don't know what you're going to get when you walk in the door, then that's not a really healthy relationship. And if you're being a martyr, if you're just sacrificing yourself for the relationship, that's not healthy either. And I think a lot of people are taught that. So, partnerships should be like equal. And it's nice to want to do things for your partner. It's nice to want to put them first, but you also have to take responsibility for yourself and your own needs and desires in the relationship and getting your needs met, whatever that looks like, in a healthy way. Another thing that happens is we think we're in love with someone, but we're actually addicted to them. So a lot of people are addicted to things. They don't even know it. So people can be addicted to sugar. And so some people, it's like obvious they're addicted to drugs or they're addicted to alcohol, but some of the other addictions aren't so obvious. So being addicted to sugar or being addicted to the gym or being addicted to sex, there's a lot of different kinds of addictions. And all that means is you have to do it. You have this feeling that you don't have control over it. Like you have to be with this person. And so we can be addicted to love as well. And that's not healthy, because if we're using our partner as a distraction from our life, which I've done that before too, especially when I was taking care of my grandparents and it was just so painful, I would just go out and date just to like distract myself, but that's not really healthy. And it's important to be able to face your own demons, look at your own stuff, because a partner is just a mirror and they're going to bring up all your stuff. They're going to bring up all your insecurities, all your fears, all your doubts. If you're feeling, anything negative about yourself, it's going to come up because you're going to project it onto your partner and think that your partner's thinking those things about you because you think those things about you. And so, yeah, it's definitely a fun ride to be in a relationship, having a mirror with you all the time. And so if you're addicted to love, then you have, like things that you're trying to distract yourself, it's not going to work, because eventually those things are going to come up in your relationship and the person isn't going to fulfill that need anymore. And so you're going to look for somebody else. And so if you find yourself jumping from partner to partner because you meet someone and you're so excited to meet them and you were spending all this time with them, and then all of a sudden you're fighting all the time, and then you break up and then you move on to the next person, then that's a good indication you have an addiction to the chemicals that happen when you meet people that you're attracted to. So another sign of an unhealthy relationship is there's no trust. So trust is huge. Like it's like the most important, besides communication. Trust and communication are the two most important parts of a relationship. And so if you don't trust your partner, and this could be because they did something that was obviously not okay, like they cheated on you and you found out, then you're not going to trust them. And there might be something where you don't know. There's just something going on there, a little off, but you suddenly find yourself checking their phone texts when they're not looking, you're looking at their email, you're trying to track them down. So you're spending all this effort wanting to know where they are, what they're doing, who they're doing it with. That is not a healthy relationship. I've been with my current partner, for almost 3 years. I've never gone through his email. I've never gone through his phone. And I tell people that if you feel the need to go through his stuff or her stuff, either look at yourself and what you're doing, because again, partners are mirrors. So what are you doing that you're not trusting yourself? Like maybe you're kind of thinking about leaving, or you're kind of thinking about cheating. So look at your own behavior first and see if there's anything going on inside of you that's making you think about cheating, or you thinking about leaving, or you think about doing something dishonest. And then if you can't think of anything, then maybe it's just a gut feeling where we're super intuitive. And so usually we know, we have like this sixth sense about if someone is cheating on us or doing something that they shouldn't be doing, because they start acting weird or acting different usually. So we kind of get the feeling that something's wrong before we actually know consciously, before they tell us. And so if you find yourself not trusting your partner, and you've already taken a look at what you're doing and you're good, you're honest, then you might just want to walk away, because it's not worth being in a relationship with someone where you feel like you have to constantly monitor them because you don't trust them. So these are all for dating things that are unhealthy. It's different if you're married, again, unless they are just hitting you or being abusive. That's totally different, leave. But I believe that if you're married, then you work things through. So you don't want to get married if all of this stuff is happening. And so that's why I'm such a huge proponent of looking at your relationship and honestly and seeing if these are things that you want to be with, you want to have in your life in 10 years from now. Because things don't usually change unless the two people really want to work through it and really want to communicate and really want to commit to the relationship and creating a healthy environment and changing these mistrust issues and these communication challenges and these addictions and these things that happen in relationships. So now that we've talked about the unhealthy part, let's switch over and talk about the signs of a healthy relationship. So I feel super blessed because I really feel like my partner and I have a very healthy relationship, and it's something that I haven't really experienced truly before. I mean, I've had really great partners, really sweet men in my life, but this one, I feel like, first of all, he's the sweetest man I've ever met. So considerate. In a healthy relationship, you feel loved, you feel cherished, you feel wanted, and you feel good and comfortable, and you're excited to see your partner even after 6 months or a year or 3 years. You are excited when you know they're coming home. You don't dread, like, oh gosh, here they come again. In a healthy relationship, you're actually excited to see your partner, and you express that. I'm always excited to see my partner when we come home. And there's no control, like there's no power struggle, there's no, here's how it's gonna be, let me tell you. Like, there's none of that in a healthy relationship. There's two people who both have needs, who both have a life of their own, and so there's no like, you're gonna do it my way, or this is how we're doing it. There's like, hey, this is how I'd like to do it. What do you think? There's no manipulation. You're not trying to make them jealous. You're not purposely trying to make them, feel bad about themselves, or they're not purposely trying to make you feel bad about yourself. There's encouragement. There is support. You feel like you can talk to your partner about your dreams and about what you're working on and about things happening in your life, and they listen to you, and you feel supported by them, and they encourage you. So in a healthy relationship, it's basically like you're dating your best friend, but you're actually attracted to them, and have some fun. You got the benefits too. And so you're lifting each other up, you're speaking kind words into each other. If someone has a bad day, you tell them, you know what, it's okay, babe, like, it's over. What can we do to move forward? What can we do to make it better? And that's what my partner does, and I love it so much, So if I'm having like a struggle with something or a challenge in my business, my partner will give me suggestions and he'll listen to me, and I'm so, so grateful for that. Sometimes I get nervous, so I hosted an event in like a year ago, and I was so nervous that no one was going to come. And so he helped me carry my stuff in, and he held my hand. And so it's like those little things where you're feeling nervous or you're feeling scared, and your partner holds your hand and walks with you. That's a healthy relationship. And in a healthy relationship, you're both getting your needs met, but you're not expecting your partner to fulfill those needs. I've talked about this a little bit in my other video, but we all have needs, and we all have ways of getting those met. And some of those are healthy and some of those aren't healthy. And so knowing what your needs are and how to get them met, and you can ask your partner, hey, like, I have a need for some cuddles right now. But you give them that space to say no. And if they say no, it's like, okay, well, when will you have some time to cuddle, right? And so it's like not taking things personally. It's not demanding things when you want it. And, allowing your partner to have a say in things without really taking it personally. And in a healthy relationship, you're sharing your life together. And so I was talking to a man a couple years ago, before I met my partner, And for a while, I just had this belief that men didn't want relationships. It was a limiting belief. Obviously, it's not true. But in my head, like, oh, men don't want relationships, men don't want commitment. And I believed that. And then I was talking to this man, his name's Aaron Young, and at a conference, and I wanted to know, he'd been married like 30 years. And I love talking to people who have been married for a really long time because I want to know the secret. I want to know what it takes to have a long lasting relationship like that, because especially with the divorce rate, how it is these days, like I want to know that secret. And so I was talking to him, and he told me this story about how a horse was born in his, like, I guess he lives on a farm with like acres and stuff like that. So he said his horse was born, and the first thing he thought was, I want to take my wife, I want to go walk it, I want her to come with me. And that just really like touched me, because it's like having that person with you your whole life, no matter how bad things get, because things got bad in his life, she was with him the whole time. So just knowing that like throughout your life you have someone to walk with you and hold your hand who wants you there, like that really touched my heart. And so that, I think, is a sign of a healthy relationship, is the person wants you to come with them. You're the first person that they think of when something exciting happens, or your partner is the first person you think of when something exciting happens. Like you want to tell them, you want to share it with them, and you walk together and side by side holding hands through life. To me, that's a healthy relationship. And just sharing your life together, you're committed to the relationship. And if you have problems, it's not you versus each other, it's you and your partner versus the problem. And I think I learned this somewhere, I don't remember, but I think that's so important when you remember that the problem is outside of you guys. You have a relationship, you have a problem. Hand in hand together, you can figure out how to overcome the problem. Your partner is not the problem. And so I think that's really, really important to remember in a healthy relationship. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. And I hope you join me for my Align and Confident Dating coaching program, group coaching program in January. You can find out more about that in my Facebook group. So I hope to see you guys in there. Have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Aligned and Confident Dating Podcast with me, your host, Collette Gallagher. If you liked this video, please subscribe down below. Hit that like button. I would love to hear your comments. Please leave your comments down below. And please join us in my free Facebook group, the Aligned and Confident Dating Facebook group. I'll post a link in the section below. So please go ahead and join there. I'll be giving you some free stuff, answering your questions, and I would love to see you in there. Have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.